I signed a 6-month lease on that broom closet to see if I could make it work. So just being really, really smart with your money. Because I had a bad experience with debt, I was very careful with putting something on a credit card and not getting ahead of myself. I needed to know that I could make it first and then reinvest. And I remember the first time I went to the supplier and I bought an entire case of wax. I think it was like $120.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is 12 cans of wax. Like, this is nuts. Can I afford this?
Yeah.
Now I'm putting orders in for $10,000, $15,000 worth of wax.
Right.
So that to me, I look back and I'm like, $120, that's nothing.
Today we have the founder and CEO of the Golden Peach Wax Bar. Today we'll be talking about how she took her business from a broom closet all the way to building out her empire franchise business. Let's jump into the episode. So I think this conversation is so interesting because not only did you start from a broom closet, you're
Pretty
now
much.
saying you have, I think, 3+ locations, about 3 more locations with 19 employees.
Yep.
When you look back to the broom closet,
Yeah.
how do you see that moment shaping the entrepreneur you've now become 7 years later?
Oh, that was a good question.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were going to start with
Yeah.
that one. When I think back to the broom closet, it taught me a lot of things to keep my overhead low and how to maximize what I did have to its fullest potential, and then pushed it to the point where I can't live in or work in this space anymore. And then that's when it would signal, okay, it's time for you to go beyond that or to expand.
Yeah.
So that's definitely helped shape who I am as an entrepreneur. Use what you have until you outgrow the space so that you're not taking on more than you can chew.
And for the listeners, what was it that you did in that broom closet? They were like, what business was she running?
Yeah, so I was doing everything in that little space. The door wouldn't even open all the way.
Yeah.
And I had to shuffle up one side of the table, but I was kind of doing everything. I was doing lashes, I was doing microblading, waxing, and I was trying to do it all. And to shift from one service to the next, I realized it's super exhausting. And I realized I need to just focus on what it is that I do really well and that makes me happy. With the microblading versus waxing.
Was that the microblading? I don't know. I'm not much of a beauty person.
That's the tattooing of like the manual tattooing of the eyebrows.
This is it then. Eyebrows. No, this is eyelash.
Yeah.
Eyebrows.
Eyebrows.
Right, yeah.
Yep, you got it right.
Yeah.
The ROI in the amount of energy you had to put in acquiring the clients, because it's a permanent tattoo, they'll come for a touch-up, but you're never going to see them again. And I was like, as a business, this doesn't make sense because you're always looking for a new client, and then that's where you're going to race to the bottom. So I was like, what's the service that I can repeat every month? Once I acquire the client, give them a great experience, I can have them repeat. And so I'm not having to always chase new. I can continue to build.
And that happened to land on waxing solely?
Waxing. Yeah.
Wow.
It was a more fun service. It wasn't as serious.
Yeah.
And the clientele were a lot more relaxed. I mean, when you're tattooing somebody's face, understandably, people are stressed out. I was like, these are high maintenance clients.
Did you forget the numbing cream? It's like
but it's the aftercare, right? And
That's right.
The panic and the amount of energy that had to go into the client afterwards. I was like, I'm not cut out for this. I need something where they come in, see me, I create a wonderful service. I'll see you in a month, and I don't hear from you over that month.
So Amie, as we were speaking beforehand, leading up to the podcast, I hear you mention this word a lot, bootstrapping.
Yes.
So for the entrepreneurs that are getting started, what would you say bootstrapping, like how would you define bootstrapping, and why is it important for an entrepreneur that's usually starting out?
Yeah, so bootstrapping I would define as creativity. You get to figure out how to be really creative with very, very little. And it shows you if you really want it. So bootstrapping for me is you're in all aspects of the company. You figure out how to do everything from build your website to run the service, to market your service. You really become one with your business and you really get to know what it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what I had available. I didn't have tons of funding. My credit was in the dump.
Yeah.
to put it nicely.
Yeah.
And so I was pushed into a corner, and you have to get really creative. And thank goodness there's tools like YouTube. So if you're determined and you can be a little bit creative, you can really accomplish anything.
I think that's so interesting. And I think you were mentioning, like, before starting the waxing business,
Yep.
you saw somebody else do a similar model to that, and there's like an inspiration moment. Could you walk us through like what that was? And I think you were looking for like a return, as you've mentioned before, like return of investment in terms of like how much time I put in versus like if they would return, etc.
Yeah, so there's two, I guess, instances where I got the inspiration. So I was getting waxed, and the story was I showed up for my appointment, and she was running 15 minutes behind, and I could just see like the phone was constantly ringing.
Yeah.
Clients kept coming in. She was booking every 15 to 20 minutes. And if you did not book in after your service, you were not getting in. And she only worked 3 days a week. She worked inside her house from 4 to 7, and it was just like repeat cash. And I was like, this is nuts. Something is here. And so then I started to look into other business models, and I wanted to buy a franchise. And then I realized how much you need to buy a franchise.
Yeah. I think you mentioned it's a cost of an arm and a leg.
A pretty nice house.
Yeah, pretty nice house, yeah. Especially if you're in Canada.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so that when you saw that moment, you're like, oh, I wonder if this is something I could explore.
Yeah.
And what were some of the things that you initially started in the journey of like trying to figure out if this is going to work?
Yeah. So my background was in sports science, and I had my own fitness studio before, so I wasn't new to the entrepreneur game.
Yeah.
But burnout was real in the fitness industry. Again, you're always having to acquire new clients.
Yeah.
So when I had this moment of like, this is a license to print money in waxing, I started to look into courses. And I was living in Victoria at the time.
Yes. Yeah. Fun place. Yeah.
And a beautiful place.
Yes, yes.
But in BC, you have to take the full aesthetics program. So it's a 10-month program. And I'm like, well, I don't want to do facials. I don't want to do nails. I just want to see if I'm into waxing. And so then I found Calgary you could just take the courses that you wanted at a school here in Calgary. And I signed up for it, went out for the week, did the course. And I was like, this is awesome. And then I sat on it for 3 years, continued to work in the bar industry because of imposter syndrome was very real. Can I do this? I've already, failed at the fitness industry. I went 40 grand in debt, burned myself out, which is why I ran away to the bar industry, just so that let's just make some quick cash. Yeah, no responsibility.
Now, I want to ask your mindset around money at that time. So you said you were like 40,000 in debt, and you were looking to start something new that's feeling aligned with like the values that you have. What do you think, looking back now, is some of the things that changed in terms of the money mindset?
The money mindset was keep your overhead low. Don't put it on a credit card. Make the cash first, and then choose what you're going to invest in. So when I first started waxing, I was going to the beauty supplier and I would buy 1 can at a time. So I was having to make those daily trips to make sure that I could service the clients. So just being really, really smart with your money. Because I had a bad experience with debt, I was very careful with putting something on a credit card and not getting ahead of myself. I needed to know that I could make it first, and then
from the profit of that, I could reinvest.
Reinvest.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
And I just did it like little bit by little bit. And I remember the first time I went to the supplier and I bought an entire case of wax. I think it was like $120.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is 12 cans of wax. Like, this is nuts. Like, can I afford this?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, no. I'm going to invest, and okay, let's do it. And now I'm putting orders in that are $10,000, $15,000 worth of wax.
Right.
So that to me, I look back and I'm like, $120, that's nothing.
So the mindset around protecting your credit, because you knew that was the area that was not as strong as you liked it to be.
Yeah.
And you've really forced your way to spend from the cash that you have,
Yeah.
but from what you make.
Yeah.
you take
I didn't have credit. Credit wasn't an option. Like I had maybe a $500 credit card,
Yeah.
and I used that as like, if an emergency hits in my personal life, then
Mm.
that's what that's for. So I was like going into the game with nothing.
Wow.
So I was like, my mom would always say, "You're burning the candle at both ends." I'm like, "Mom, I'm
Oh.
fine. I'm fine."
I'm figuring it out, Mom.
Yeah. But and that's a part of bootstrapping is,
Yeah.
you sometimes you do have to burn the candle at both ends to get to that next level.
Yeah, I think that's so encouraging, because sometimes I often hear entrepreneurs like say, I need this to be the perfect moment or perfect equipment for me to really feel comfortable and get started. And I think from your story, that level of comfort wasn't available.
Yeah.
And therefore you just said, I just have to make this work.
Yeah.
And in order to, I'm curious to
I'm going to jump in.
Yes, yeah.
I couldn't even go to my parents and ask for like a $500 because they'd helped me with closing of the dance studios. They helped cover the 40 grand so that I wasn't like, in over my head, but I had to pay it back. So I couldn't go to them. There was no one in my corner. I was even terrified to tell my parents I signed a 6-month lease on that broom closet to see if I could make it work.
Wow. when you were going through that, wow, I wonder what feelings were going through your mind. Because I'm sure even myself, when I'm starting this, it's leveraging debt in order to get started. And so I think it would be encouraging to share. It's like, no, like you think you're on your own journey in this situation, but majority of the business owners, when they get started, they have to bootstrap, they have to stay lean and try to reduce the overhead costs. But could you shine some light on the emotional, endurance that you were building up for yourself after client after client? You're like,
I guess competitive. Like it was like me against the world, and I wanted to prove everybody wrong. And I still kind of have that little bit of a chip on my shoulder sometimes where I'm like, I'm going to do it. Like, watch me. And as soon as someone does doubt me, I'm like, okay, bring it on. And when
write your name on the list.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, you're added to the list.
Yep.
What's that movie with the Steve Buscemi where he puts the name on the list? Is it Happy Gilmore?
Oh, maybe.
And
I'm not familiar with. Oh, yeah. That's funny.
But I remember when I told my dad, because they're like, "What are you doing? Like, where are you going in the morning? You're working at night at the bar." And I was like, "Oh, I signed a lease." And they're like, "Oh no!" And I just remember this feeling of I've let them down.
Oh.
And I was like, I can't let anybody else down. Most of all, my parents. Like, I have to prove to them that I'm gonna be okay and that I can do this. So it was more I was doing it for someone else's approval at first. And that kind of gave me the fire to keep pushing so that I wasn't going to let anyone else down. Yeah. And
before we sort of change the subject, one more question on that. I think it's interesting because even Dan Martell talks, I think it was in the conversation with Omar, they were saying like the energy that drives the entrepreneur at the beginning, it might come from a place of like trying to prove to the world or like that negative energy, but there sometimes is a shift afterwards into deriving your energy out of goodness. I wonder, now that you've achieved so much with like building your brand as well as your company, hiring different employees, I think you still have an audacious goal, which I'm rooting for. Do you think there's a bit of a shift in that energy aspect of like trying to see, or do you think it's still similar?
I don't think the energy is the same. Now it comes from a place of, well, can I do it? And now it's more of a curiosity, which is making it more fun, but it's a lot more dangerous because now you have some spending. Now you have, a little bit of room to play. You have to be very smart and very drilled into what your goal is and what you're going to do. So it's a new set of skills that you need to acquire. So the fuel is there, but it's more from a curiosity. What can I do?
Yeah.
Why can't I? I think Dave Martell says that all the time. Well, if I can do it, why can't you?
Yeah. And so I'll sort of structure the conversation so that we want to understand like how you went from the first store to the second store, like how you evolved that. Because I think that's a big step. that anybody would take. And then afterwards, I think if any franchisees would be interested, like what are some of the conversations that you would have with them look like? So we'll do like part 1 and part 2 and sort of like go in that direction. So how did you know after working in that broom closet and how did you know when it was the perfect time to move on to the next second location?
So it was kind of, the space was weird. And I started to pick.
It's a broom closet.
But it wasn't, I was in somebody else's salon. So I had no control over what it looked like, felt like, how they ran their business outside of my little room. So when my guests would walk in, it was a dicey, not a good experience off the get-go. So 6 months in, I was like, okay, I need to see if I can find something. And there was my room, and then there was a room right across from me, and it was for a tattoo artist. And we were like, we need to get out of this salon. Like, something's up, something's weird. Like, we just need to get out. Turns out, I think like a year later, the space caught on fire.
Oh, wow.
So it was just like
good instinct.
Our gut was like, let's get out of here. I guess we were kind of forced to find a new space, but to go into, and that's when I first ran into how much a commercial lease is and how much you have to commit. And then there's the renovations, and I'm like, how are we going to do this? So we decided, well, let's just see if we can go in on a space together.
Oh, so when you say we, it's the tattoo artist.
The tattoo artist.
Yeah.
And his girlfriend at the time found this old building downtown Calgary, and we toured the building together thinking that we were going to rent the space. And we were touring, and my parents always taught me, look at the bare bones. Don't look at the cosmetic of a place. Like, you can fix the paint. You can, but look at the bones of what that space is. So we're touring this, old building, and the girl that was showing us the space, she said, oh yeah, everyone thinks this one is haunted. And you walked in, and it kind of did have a little bit of an eerie feeling, but it was like a door inside the space, but it had a piece of cardboard in it. I'm like, well, you could frost that glass, right? And I think it was painted like khaki pea green, like it wasn't a nice color, but if you painted it white, it would brighten it up. So I was looking beyond the cosmetic. Anyways, we ended up touring the rest of the building, and I asked, can we go back and see this space? And I noticed, well, there's a beam here. The room is big enough. I could eventually split this into 2 wax studios once I got busy enough. So we had a lobby, and then there was a wall, and then a big wax room in the beginning, but I knew eventually I could divide it. So I was like, there's room for me to grow here. And I went in looking with that. And so we toured the room the second time, and I was like, so if I was to put a deposit down right now, like, can I secure this space just for myself? And I remember telling the tattoo artist, sorry, it's not personal. This is business.
Oh, yeah.
So he was like, I was going to take that spot. I'm like, sorry, I put my name on it first. He eventually got a space. He was just on a floor below me, and so
it worked out.
It all worked out. But that's where the transition from where I started to that first official space on my own, and I could control the experience for my clients when they came in.
Can we touch upon that experience? Because I think looking through your photos, you do have a very intentional way of designing the studio so that it's welcoming, but also like cool and vibey. What was that? And I think you do have to have an eye to see a place and then be like, I can imagine things to be. And did that come from like you running your business prior with the sports?
I think Pinterest.
Pinterest. There you go.
I knew what I wanted to create, and I'm a big believer in steal like an artist. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. So I was doing a lot of research on what does my dream salon look like. So if you want to call that manifesting, you can.
Yes.
But seeing how other studios have set up their spaces and being like, well, I really like that, and I like this, and this is cool. And so I just picked and chose, and then just created this collage of things that I liked. So I guess I would say I have more of an eye than
That's amazing. And so you get that eye, you get the building, and then I think the next question that the entrepreneur would ask is like, okay, how are you going to now? I think there's some costs that go in when they go into the like buying a property or like leasing a property, and they realize, oh, there was this amount of money I have to pay for XYZ, which I didn't even realize. And
Yeah.
I think you were mentioning a bit on that call, on the pre-call as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So try and get as much from the landlord as possible.
What does that mean? Yeah. Let's break that down.
Yeah. So ask about tenant improvements. If there's free rent while you're doing the renovations, see what you are able to get from them. Especially if you're renting from a smaller landlord. We weren't working with any of the big companies. The reason why we liked this building was I only had to sign, I think it was a 1 or 2 year lease to start.
I think typically it's like 2 to 3 years, but
depending on the space. But
the one that you had was
the big commercial, like if you're renting with a big commercial agent, 2-3 years, you're going to pay a higher premium. You're not going to get a tenant allowance. So you're kind of limited.
Yeah.
So look for a smaller space, look for maybe smaller landlords or an older space where there is a little bit more flexibility.
So that's the tenant. So what would the entrepreneurs be looking for when they go into leasing a space? And then you mentioned tenant improvements. So I think that allows you to get some time
to build out
rather than having to pay monthly while you're building. You're not running the business.
Yeah. See what work the landlord is willing to do. So okay, the flooring isn't in compliance with what AHS or Alberta Health Standards is going to ding me for. Always plan for an extra 30 days of construction.
Okay.
If someone says it's going to take 60, plan for 90.
Okay. That's a smart tip. So when the contract says, I just want to get the contract, it should be done in 60 days. Yeah. You're like, nope.
No, ask for an extra 30 days or just plan for in your head. And then there's always going to be unexpected. The easiest things are always going to be the most difficult. Like in Airdrie, we thought a sink connection was going to be super easy. We ended up having to buy a new faucet, and then we had to hire somebody. So it was an extra $1,000 to get all that done. And there was a little bit of a delay, but just from that experience of going through that 4 times, just to expect it and not to panic.
And for your location, did it take about 90 days to sort of go in and get set up shop, or what was that experience like?
So the first Golden Peach location in 502, it took about 30 days. We were delayed with the sink. They had to actually redo the piping.
Oh, the plumbing.
So the plumbing. Yeah. And so then that delayed our Alberta Health inspection. I think the plumber was working on it as Alberta Health was in there doing their pre-screening.
All right, you get started. Start checking. That's funny.
So we had to send them finished pictures. And then for our second location, spend your time researching contractors.
How does one do that? Because I think that also comes with experience.
Yeah. So don't use a friend to refer. Do research on Google. Look to see what other companies they've done work with and if it's something similar to your goal. So how we found our current contractor we're redoing our downtown location. We're actually moving into a new building. I researched Google, and then I looked to see if they'd worked with other franchises so that they understood the business side of it, and they're not just doing residential.
Oh, yes.
They're familiar with commercial and bigger companies and things like that.
That's smart. I also was given the tip when I was in my day of doing real estate investing, like if the cost is like whatever amount and the contractor asks for more than 30%, it's a bit of a red flag. I'm not sure if that's maybe the same with Alberta, what you've experienced.
Yeah, I would say between like 30 and 40%.
Yeah.
If it's under that 30%, that's also going to be a big red flag, because I think that's where we went with our first contractor. Was we got a bit of a deal, ended up the contractor didn't show up for 28 days on site. And then when I showed up and called a meeting, and I was like, well, what's going on? Like, our lease is about to start. We're going to have to be paying for the space. The space isn't done. We don't even have inspections. They ended up cutting the electricity, or not the electricity, but the internet phone lines when they were trenching for a sink.
Yeah.
So it was just a nightmare. So finding somewhere between that 30 and 40%, I would say.
That should be a good amount.
Yeah.
You're right. The other way too, it's if it's too good to be true, it's like, you have to do your due diligence. I think another question that I had for you was,
Maybe not 40, maybe like 30 to 35,
yeah,
because
30,
40 is a little
35.
bit high.
Yeah, 30, 35. I think, yeah, that's a good number to land on. And when you were, so how does running your own locations, yeah, so I think this question now, just as you're now building the business and you're hiring employees, your lifestyle begins to sort of change from being working in the business to now working on the business. Could
Yeah.
you share with us that transition?
That's probably been the hardest transition for me
Mm,
because I've been I've spent the last 8 years, 7 years being in the business and being the day to day, learning to delegate and like give things up has been the hardest transition. And before I was seeing clients and then I was working on the business at night.
yeah.
So now I have somewhat of a work-life balance. I mean, I'm still crazy.
Yeah.
But the anxiety that I get when I'm not in the business and I don't hear from anybody because we've built
Like
the
your
systems.
employees or?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I panic. Like, is everything okay? You don't need me?
Yeah.
But we've spent the time to build the systems so the business can run. So that's been an interesting transition, is trusting the systems that we've built.
Rather than, I think there's also even myself, when I'm doing my first hire and my second hire, like I initially want to jump in and say like, no, I will try to take care of it. But then having to learn from like Omar or Dan or Tel, they're like, no, you have to build a system and have that. So I think that's when you echo that, it's like, it does ring true.
Yeah.
And do you feel now relieved or sort of like,
Yeah.
you feel more of a boss? It's like, this is what it feels like.
The stress level has come down in the sense of you're not having to juggle everything in the air. Like, you're not having to hold everything up.
Right.
The systems, I was the biggest problem in my business before we had the systems. So because I was working in the business, everybody had to go through me. Everybody had to ask me, how do we do this? How do we do that?
Is that even starting from like training or like
training, how to handle a customer situation, how do we do this in this situation? And then it left my employees in the dark of they weren't empowered to do their job. So I was only utilizing my employees to 70%. So I wasn't maximizing what they could do within the business because I was like, well, you have to go through me. And they don't, right? But you need the systems in place so that you can empower them. So getting everything out of your head and onto paper, we use
like
Notion.
Notion, right?
So I build out the systems in, Google Docs or whatever. Now that you have ChatGPT, you can write ugly. You can just even talk to it and say, I need a system for this. This is how we do it. Can you create a clear outline for employees to follow? As a policy and procedure. Write that, link it in Notion, and then everyone has access to it on their phone. So now they're empowered to have that.
And how about the training aspect? And this is where I'm at with my videographer. And do you do like a weekly training, or do you just say, hey, here's a document, this is your homework to like learn, and we'll talk about it on whatever day, like next meeting? How did that look like for you?
Yeah, so there's been a couple different stages for me. So in the beginning, I was training people from the ground up. I used to not like hiring estheticians because they would come in with bad habits and then you have to untrain them and then get them on board. So how I approached it was I hired based on personality. And if they were the right personality, because that was the number one thing, was the customer experience.
That's right.
Are they friendly? Are the customers going to fall in love with them?
Right.
If you miss a couple hairs, it's not the end of the world if they love the person that's doing the wax. Which then forced me to write my manual and how we do our waxing service. I hired someone with zero. She was she came from the law world.
Oh, interesting.
And I trained her how to become a waxer. So we wrote our manual.
Right.
I got insured as a school so that I could do that. And from there, I knew what to look for. I knew the service inside and out. And then on top of that, after doing that a couple times for a few years, our clients also knew what to expect. So we built
I think that's such a
the
cute
brand
part.
of the customers are trained now, so that if somebody does go rogue and decides to totally change up how they do the service, the customers are the first ones to write us an email, give me a call. Hey, so-and-so didn't do this. Doesn't mean that it was wrong,
Right.
but it's not following the golden peach method.
Mm.
So and I tell my new hires who I hire estheticians now, just because I don't have the same amount of time
Right.
to take 2 weeks to train somebody from the ground up, be like, clients will tell on you. I will receive that email. I will receive that phone call. So if you're not down to do it how we like to do it at Golden Peach, that's fine. But just so you know, it won't fly here.
Yeah. And that's also, it confirms the direction that I'm going as well. So like trying to build a system in which it can be referenced and also built upon. I couldn't think of the latter part, which is what you said about when the experience of the customer now is helping build the brand of it.
Yeah.
Because my head was always just around the business as being a business owner, but I now see through your story of understanding the customer side and what they think of you.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. Let's talk about, and this is the exciting topic. We're leaving it for the last conversation. Is the new, I'll call it the model that's in between the two worlds. It's not the like crazy expensive franchise, which cost 350, or I think you said maybe $500,000 sometimes. But it's also not a model where you're just left out in the dark by yourself, like really just sort of like starving as a business owner. But you've sort of built something in hybrid. Could you walk us through, and am I correct in saying that's the Golden Peach Pro method, or I think you were calling
the Golden Peach method is anything that how we like to do things is our method.
Yeah.
So this is kind of the method for franchising. It's the system I wish I had 8 years ago. I remember telling my friends, I just wish Jeff Bezos would sell this on Amazon. Like I would buy this business in a box just to get started, to have, like the business fundamentals, the policies, procedures. Building a startup is very different from building a business or owning a business. Building a startup is you're starting from scratch. You need to do everything. You need to wear every hat. You need to bootstrap from the ground up.
Yes.
It's intense and it's not for everybody. And one of the big trends in the aesthetics world that I've noticed is a lot of these independent salon suites popping up. But there's a lot of turnover in those suites because these independent service providers burn out because they don't realize how much work is needed to build beyond that. So they either close early because there's no support, they burn out, they end up hating it, they just want to go back to whatever it was before. So seeing that trend in the industry, I was like, well, I want to work with service providers who are passionate about what they do, because you're never going to get that same level of care from an investor. Right. And I want to work with people who love their clients, who want to deliver the best. And I was like, okay, so how do we bridge that gap? Knowing who I was 8 years ago, I was like, well, I don't have 350 grand. I think maybe it was 250 grand back then. But I don't have that kind of capital or access to that capital. But I did have access to maybe 75, or I could figure it out. Right.
Yep.
So that's kind of where we're coming in, is we're wanting to work with those independent who can slowly build their clientele and then eventually go into a bigger commercial lease, go into a bigger brick and mortar, so that they work from the ground up.
So it's and I think you mentioned they have to be an esthetician, or do they need to be licensed in that in order to?
They don't have to. I mean, that's my ideal clientele is who I would want to work with. I want to work with an owner operator,
right?
So that the training is a lot more streamlined, and they can get up and going right away. And so then knowing their background, I'll be able to be a better franchisor to those franchisees, because I'm working with owner operators and not investors. Right. So it's also a comfort thing for me too, I guess.
And what's coming up in 2020? So I think you're testing something right now in 2025, and you have something else coming up in 2026.
Yeah.
So anybody that's listening that may be interested in taking this model to become a franchisee, what would be some of the things that they should be watching out for?
Yeah, so we're beta testing our model, our franchise model right now. So we're in a salon suite at Citizen Salons. So we're testing the model to see how quickly we can build our clients from scratch. So we're in a new city. We're building out everything from our marketing plans to how we support the network, all the things that go into it, and how quickly we're able to build on that. And then in 2026, we are going to our very first national franchise show. I think it's in Vancouver.
Nice.
So we're going to have a booth there, and we're going to be able to bring this model to market come spring 2026.
And you also find that there is a demand for these clients who are looking to build equity in their own company.
Yeah.
And there's no other model in the marketplace that helps you.
Yeah.
Do
So
that.
from what the research that I've done, there's lots of these independent salon suites popping up. I think there's 3 or 4 companies just in Calgary alone. One of the owners of these salon suites actually saw the idea down in the States, and it's popped up all over the States. There's like 50 of these type business models in the States. So they brought it up to Canada, and no one is, you either buy a brick and mortar where you're buying the big guy franchise, or you're going independent with no support. And there's nothing in between. So I was like, well, maybe there's a market here that no one's played with. For me, I'd also looked at, well, I'm going up against some big players. If we do go to this franchise show,
definitely,
how do I compete with someone who has a 10-year track record of being a franchisor, whose numbers are there, whereas our numbers aren't yet, because we're just getting into this game. So I looked at the market of what's missing and how can I capitalize on that. So I'm not I mean, I still am competing, but I'm trying to red ocean, blue ocean. So I've moved over to the blue ocean where nobody's playing, and helping to get service providers to become their own business owner.
Right. That's so exciting. And I think part of everyone that's starting a business, this question is always in their mind of like social media, and where does that play in the game? You mentioned to me earlier in the call that you've saw social media as one of the things as your, I think like, it's like a benefit card. Like when you have this down, it's going to give you an edge upon your, maybe against your competitors and so on. And so has your journey sort of improved as you sort of joined Omar's? Because I think you joined because you wanted to take it more serious.
Yeah. So I think since joining Omar's group, I've realized how much untapped potential there is to market your business.
Yeah. Can we break that down for the listeners? Yeah.
So I hated social media. Like I was like,
wait, really? From what I see now? Like, wow.
I was like, this is like my personal page. I was like, what's the point? Like no one cares to see what I've had for lunch. But I had the wrong mindset. It was more of like, look at me, people bragging. You know, I know the term narcissist likes to get thrown around, but that's how I viewed it.
Oh,
right?
Interesting.
And so I'm still learning the personal branding side of it. But then because when I was in my business, working all the time, waxing, it was the last thing to do on my list. I think like 1 year for Golden Peach, I posted maybe 12 times on social media.
And this is Instagram we're talking about.
This is Instagram.
Yep.
And I wasn't utilizing it, but now social media is to the point where, you know, when those businesses didn't have websites and people were like, what do you mean you don't have a website? That's where we are now, but with social media, with Instagram, with YouTube. You know, what do you mean you don't have a channel? If you're not on this and trying to learn this, you're going to get left behind, whether it's a year from now or 2 years from now. If you're not trying to develop this skill in your business, good luck.
And so you're saying it's a mandatory.
It's mandatory.
Yeah. Not even just for the beauty pros. It's like
any business.
In any business.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at, so there's 2 sides of it.
Yeah.
So there's your personal brand for CEOs, founders. If you're a business owner, start figuring out a personal brand start playing with it, start figuring it out. It's going to be messy. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to want to give up. It's a battle, but just keep posting. No one's judging you. No one cares.
That's a bar. That's a bar.
This is my mantra that I have to tell myself every time. Don't rewatch the video 100 times, post it and forget it. Go do something. And it's a skill that you have to develop over time. I've spent 8 years building Golden Peach to where it is now. I really dedicated myself to learning personal branding. 7 months. And I'm so critical and so hard, and I get frustrated because you're wanting to be at the end where somebody like Omar, who has 15 or 19 years of video experience.
Right.
Take a step back, calm down.
That's a message for me.
Right?
You're talking to me.
Give yourself patience. But if you own a business, your business also needs to be on social media. And it's not just here's a sale. Buy this.
That's right.
Book this.
So what do you share on social media, if you want to share with us?
Yeah. So the story more so highlighting who's in our business, like our team. I did hire a social media manager about time because I wasn't even responding to messages on Instagram. It was the last thing on my list. Right. It wasn't a habit. I didn't have time for it. So I never prioritized it.
The social media person now coming in probably.
And so she's been fantastic, but I've also had to tell her, don't do trends. I don't want to do what every other salon is doing, where, like that one viral trend will come up and then you see it once, right? And you're like, oh, this is hilarious. Maybe you watch it a second time, but by the time you get to the third or fourth video that's doing this, you're not watching, you're just scrolling. You
just become part of the noise rather than part of the signal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I said, let's focus more on storytelling. Let's be more unique. She was wanting to use trending audio. And then I, looked into, how does music impact your brand? So we've kind of got like a 1940s vibe.
Nice.
I'm like, we need to use old school from the 50s, 60s, 1940s swing. Like,
Amie, I like that. Because I really enjoy music. That's why when you mentioned those, I'm like, that's like going to the classics.
Yeah. But that's a part of our brand too, right? We celebrate the pinup girl and, all shapes, sizes. That's a part of our experience. So why aren't we utilizing that in the music that we play in the studio? The music that we play on as the background music. Sure, it may not get 1 million views, but we're creating an experience online for our clients to go to so that as soon as they hear that unique sound of like the 1940s jazz, they know right away, oh, that's Golden Peach. And not just a trending audio like at X, Y, and Z salon where everybody does it. Like you don't know them by name. There's no unique fingerprint to that brand. It's a cool trending thing. You might get the views, but you're not landing.
That's amazing. And I think next time, if it's possible, I will come to Calgary to do maybe a follow-up episode, and we'll have Kyle there too. So come
during Stampede. We'll get no work done. And bring your cowboy hat.
Cowboy hat, right? Yeah, I think that's one thing. I think one of my friends that went there is like, this is one of the things you need to have. Where can people find you, and what other exciting things are you working on in your business?
Yeah, so people can find me on Instagram at Hey Amie Dawe. You will be able to find us on YouTube as well at Golden Peach. I think it's Golden Peach or Golden Peach Wax Bar. But some exciting things that we're working on is obviously the franchise model. And then also building out our direct-to-consumer aftercare line.
That's exciting.
Launching our Shopify store for that.
What does that look like for, I guess, the people that would be expecting it?
Yeah. So we're back to bootstrapping.
Yes.
Building out the brand. So we've been selling it in-house. We've had this line for a few years. We've found a beautiful manufacturer, women-owned, naturally derived ingredients, organic, all that wonderful stuff. No parabens, sulfites. So really, really beautiful for the skin, formulated for the face, safe for the bikini line. Nice. And bringing it to market. So learning how to build an e-commerce store, so it's not brick and mortar, and building the brand from there. So taking those product shots, learning that photography, learning that video.
Yeah. From what I'm seeing, I think Omar explained this before. It's like he drew like an empire model where not only are you servicing the franchisees who are looking to build their business, but now you're getting into the product line, which is like, and then I think that your business also comes with the education part. So it's like I think Omar called it like the perfect trifecta for building an empire business.
Yeah.
So
it all feeds off of, it's like Apple, right?
Oh yeah.
So Apple has, you know, the phone and then Apple Music and then, and it all feeds
the ecosystem. Wow.
Same with the laptop, right? Like your phone communicates with the laptop and it's just ease of use. It all makes sense. Everything is connected. So thinking in terms of how do I build the Golden Peach Empire, having the wax at the heart, and then where can we branch out from there where it makes sense.
So then people that are looking to get started, their cost for the franchisee, I think you said 75, was it?
Around,
75.
Yeah, depending on the renovations that you're doing the city that you're in. But that 75,000 includes 1 year's worth of rent. Your utilities, your Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Wow.
So it brings down the costs huge because you're not having to take on long-term leases with big commercial real estate.
Which is a lot of risk, but you're taking that risk for.
We've eliminated that risk. And then you're also eliminating the construction. So now you're not having to deal with permits. You're not having to hire a project manager. You're not having to hire a ton of trades other than maybe a plumber to switch out a sink.
Because that's another whole set of headache.
So for our downtown location, we're moving into a new building. Our estimated, just for the new build out, was $130,000.
There you go. Just for the build out itself.
Just for the build out.
130.
And we had to commit to 7 years in the building.
Right.
And I'm on that, I signed the dotted line, I'm on that hook.
Right.
Success or fail. So I'm responsible, which is, it's scary going into those big commercial leases, especially if you're just testing a model.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But I think I think you're leading with heart. And I think that's the message I think we can end on. If there's the future golden peach girl watching this video.
The golden girl.
The golden girl. Yeah. If she's watching this video and seeing you talk about how you're basically helping that person get to the next level as fast as possible with the right amount of investment, what kind of word of encouragement would you give to her? Could it be a him as well? Or no, it's mostly her. Yeah, mostly her.
Mostly her. It's a girl thing. It's a girls club.
Definitely.
But behind every strong woman, there's a strong husband, and I have to give credit to my husband for everything that he's supported me on and all of that, and the late nights, and just, babe, you do what you need to do if you need to work.
Yeah.
I would say if a golden girl's out there who's wanting to go beyond just being an employee, keep working hard. Do your research, figure it out what it is that you want to do. Is it a startup that you want to do? Do you want to do the entire side of creating everything from scratch? And I'm saying this from my own experience. I'm grateful that I wasn't able to buy the bigger franchise because I would have had no creative control. So if creative control is super important to you, start researching how to bootstrap, start figuring out how to get started, and realize how much work does go into a startup.
Right.
But if you want more of a work-life balance, and you want help along the way and you're not sure where to get started, reach out to us and connect with us, because we'd love to partner with passionate service providers who want to build something and not just be an employee anymore.
And I think that's the brand essence that you really portray. Even when I see through the social media, like I do see that essence coming out. And I think that's an extension of who you are. Thank you so much for the episode. And
thank you.
I think, we'll definitely have you back on for a second round after what happens in 2026. With the
I'll keep you updated. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been a blast. So hopefully somebody can take something and learn something from some of my lessons.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.